Okay, so what I did earlier in the previous video is that I copied the computations, the one that we did earlier in Excel, and I copied the values over here and then transpose it to get this somewhat proper looking table with the statistics or the variables on top of each column. And what I'm going to do next is maybe add the column called variable, and I'm going to name all the variables that is going to be over there. So here we have item 1, item 2, and I'm going to drag and copy select these two cells and just drag everything so that everything follows accordingly. And then, so I have all the variables, but remember this is not an item for this column, this row. Instead, that is actually our total score for the social anxiety scale. And there you go. And this is the mean for the total score, standard deviation, and the variance. And here we have one Cronbach alpha sitting by itself over there, so I'm just going to bring it over there, over here, together with the rest of the group. I'm just going to cut it. Oh, it seems like if I cut it, I cannot transpose it, so I'm just going to copy it. Just going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it by transposing it. And there you go. I have my Cronbach alpha down there. Oop. Okay, so now I have this nice looking table somewhat, but the problem is now we don't have, consistent decimal points. I have here 3, and this one I have 6 decimal points. So I want to, reorganize everything and make sure that all decimals are equal, and I prefer to use up to 3 decimal points. So now I'm just going to increase my decimal. Come on. So we click this button to increase the decimal points, and again to decrease it we just use this one. Yep, I'm going to go and increase it to 3 decimal points. So now I somewhat have a neat looking table in Excel. What I'm going to do next is actually copy this table so that we can go back to our slides and compare it with the one that we did earlier with SPSS. So this is where we stopped earlier, and next we are going to compare SPSS and Excel results. And here we have the SPSS results that we choose, that we took, and we reorganize everything, and this is what we prefer to report. And now I'm pasting the Excel results earlier to compare everything side by side. I'm going to increase the font a little bit, it's a little bit small, maybe use 11. Okay, 14. Yep, not bad. So here, if you can see, we have variable, where here we call it item, and we have the mean, somewhat similar because this is up to 2 decimal points, and then it becomes 1.78 instead of 1.786. I'm sorry, 1.79 instead of 1.786. But if you round up to 2 decimal points, we'll get 1.79, and the rest looks good. Yep. 1.488, 1.49. Yes, very similar. And we have standard deviation. Over here we don't really report variance, so in this case we can just simply delete this part. Earlier we used this variance just to calculate the Cronbach alpha. We can delete this column, and we can also delete the covariance because at this point, we have all the standardized values, and we choose not to report covariance. I'm going to delete the columns, and we get the correlation, the item total correlation. Just bear in mind one thing is that in SPSS we get the corrected item total correlation. We've learned so far basically what's the difference between the corrected item total correlation and the normal bivariate item total correlation, which is the non-corrected one. Basically, the corrected item total correlation again is going to be smaller than the bivariate, the non-corrected item total correlation, because the corrected item total correlation is actually the correlation of this item and the total score, but the total score exclude this particular item. For example, the corrected item total correlation between item 1 and the total correlation exclude item 1 in the total correlation, and that's why it's somewhat smaller. It's just to adjust for bias. But here we get somewhat similar still, even though slightly bigger than the corrected one. Yep. Yeah. This is these are smaller compared to these ones. Sorry. There you go. Compared to this one, but the values are consistent. 0.235 and then 0.349, 0.517. Well, that's one thing in Excel that it's going to be quite tedious if you want to do each part, all the corrected item total correlation, but it's not impossible. Same goes to the Cronbach's alpha. If when item deleted we can compute Cronbach's alpha, but then it's going to be kind of tedious. But the bigger picture is that we get the Cronbach alpha for all 20 items for the whole construct, and it's very similar. It's actually exactly the same to the reliability, the Cronbach's alpha from SPSS. Same goes to the scale mean. Here you go. And the scale standard deviation. Exact same standard deviation. Okay. So here, then, we can argue that my table doesn't have consistent decimal points, and maybe that's one thing that I want to improve in later, just to make sure that everything is consistent. So that's it. We've seen two analysis in two computer programs, the SPSS and the Excel. So now I hope you can try on your own based on the data that I've shared with you. I'm assuming that my students are viewing this. That's it. Thank you.